Hi everyone. Well, this was a totally unplanned video and it all started because I was thinking of ways to darken my 100% whole wheat sourdough loaves. I can't get any hard red wheat varieties where I live and I love brown bread that's actually brown. I also love the famous Australian spread Vegemite, which is salty and savoury and very brown in colour, so I decided it'd be fun to give it a try. So this recipe, I only decided to record this after I'd started it. So these are some old photos, but my wheat is hard white wheat and it's freshly milled. And for this recipe, I use 500 grams of whole wheat flour and 425 grams of water. So in the beginning, I just mix those two together and I actually soak these overnight in my fridge. So this works really well with my flour. It might not work well with yours, but this is like an extended cold autolyse, and this soaking works really well with my flour. The next day, I put my flour and water lump into my mixer. Normally I'd well, you can just see how stretchy that dough is after the soaking overnight. It works really well with this hard wheat. Yeah, so I put my everything into the mixer. In goes the dough, the flour and water dough, plus 130 grams of whole wheat sourdough starter. That's just straight from the fridge. And I don't put any salt in this dough because Vegemite is really salty. So I'm adding the Vegemite to add colour and flavour as well as the salt. So I started off with 1 tablespoon, which is probably about 20 grams of Vegemite. And then later on I added a bit more. So in total it was 1.5 tablespoons or about 35 grams. Now normally I would mix my dough by hand at this point. I'd just give it a mix, but I really didn't want to get Vegemite all over me and all over the bench. So I put it in my stand mixer just to combine it all really. So you don't need to do this in a mixer. I just did it this way just to keep everything a bit cleaner and make life a bit easier for me. It was pretty gory looking dough. Really, and you're just mixing this to not necessarily to develop the strength and the gluten in the dough, but really to mix in the Vegemite. So I stopped after a little while and realised that I wanted it a bit darker in colour, and that's when I added the extra 1/2 tablespoon of Vegemite. Because there's no point in me doing this if it wasn't actually going to add to the colour of the dough. So I just give that another mix up for a few minutes. I've sped this right up, so I can't remember how long it took, probably only a couple of minutes. You really just want to mix it until the Vegemite is evenly distributed through the dough, or the Marmite, or whatever else you could use. There's all sorts of things you could use, as you probably saw on my list at the beginning there. Once that's all mixed through, I just take it out and just kind of start to bring the dough together a little bit, just shape it a little bit with my hands and put it into a fresh bowl. So now that everything's mixed in, this is quite a cold dough, so it takes a long time. You can put it in a warmer spot if you want, but really I just bulk ferment the dough until it starts to get bubbly, and I just do a couple of stretch and folds throughout the day. So this is the first stretch and fold. You can see that the dough is not really dark, but it's kind of a nice caramelly colour, which is cool, and it smells like Vegemite. I can smell it the whole way through. It's quite nice though. I suppose if you like Vegemite, it's nice. This is the second stretch and fold. You can see it's a very extensible, quite slack dough. It's pretty high hydration. And this is I think this might be the final stretch and fold. Oh no, that was the second last one. You just do as many as you want really. This is the final one. Really, I sort of decide to start shaping the dough at this point. It's pretty much been out all day because it started off really cold. So it takes quite a while to get going when you do that cold autolyse. So this is the final stretch and fold, and really that's just to begin the pre-shaping and to help get the dough out of the bowl. I just firm that up a little bit, just put a little bit of tension into it, and that's my first shaping. And just let that dough rest for 10 or 15 minutes. and then do the final shaping. I'm just proofing my dough in the bowl that I let it ferment in, and just putting it on this blue cloth. So just fold your dough up. This is the final shaping. I just do a letter fold. Try and get it as tight as you can, but you don't want to break any of the break any of the outside surface of the dough. And then put it in your banneton or your bowl or whatever you're using as a proofing container. You can use anything you like. I just do some final folding in of the dough. I can see it's so slack, so I just want to tighten it up a little bit more. Just keep pulling it in, and a bit more brown rice flour on the top. And I'll just leave that then to proof. So here's the dough ready to bake. I can't remember how long I proofed this for. It was probably about an hour and a half or so. You just want to proof it till it's visibly rising a bit and it's feeling a bit soft. So preheat the oven to 240 Celsius or 464 or thereabouts in Fahrenheit. Just make sure your oven is really hot. I just baked this dough uncovered on a pizza stone. I give it a bit of a score and spray it with some water. My oven works quite well without the dough covered, even though I like to cover my doughs a lot of the time too. It really depends on your oven. My oven seals quite well, so it keeps the steam in. This new oven anyway. My old oven wasn't so good. So there goes the dough. I partly left this one uncovered because I wanted to try a time-lapse recording. This is my first one ever. It's pretty cool. I love watching that. That's great. So it rose up pretty well. It may have been bigger and better if I had have shaped it better or not proofed it so much, but it's okay. I didn't really plan this. This is just me on autopilot. This is how I make bread when no one's watching, although people are watching this time. So here's the final bread. Cut it open. It might not look that dark to you guys, but to me it's quite a different color, and I'll show you a comparison in a second. It's a lovely smell, lovely tangy malty flavor. It actually works quite well. You don't really taste the Vegemite, you smell it more than you taste it. But it's a really nice loaf of bread, and that's the comparison to what my bread normally looks like without the Vegemite in it. So yeah, bit of a fun experiment. I quite enjoyed it. We ate the bread with savoury and sweet toppings, and it was really good. Thanks everyone. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please check out my playlists in each subject area within my channel for more interesting videos if you're interested. Thanks. Bye.